The Galactic Council had not banned any species in over 10,000 years. So when the message appeared across every star system, it caused panic. Humans are permanently banned from the Galactic Council. No reason was given. No warning was sent. No chance for discussion. Just one cold sentence that shook the entire galaxy. On Earth, people stared at their screens in disbelief. Humans had fought beside the galaxy. They had saved planets. They had stopped deadly alien wars. And now they were banned. Not restricted. Not suspended. Banned. No human ship was allowed near council space. No human ambassador was welcome. No human voice was allowed in galactic decisions. The galaxy whispered one question. Why? The silent chamber. On the floating capital world of Xiron Prime, the Galactic Council gathered in emergency session. The chamber was massive. It floated above a sea of stars. The walls were made of light, and the floor glowed softly beneath every step. Around a circular table sat the leaders of the galaxy, tall insect creatures with shining eyes, coal machine minds with glowing cores, ancient reptile kings with heavy crowns, energy beings made of light and sound. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, and today they were afraid. At the center of the chamber stood a single human. His name was Captain Elias Ward. He wore a simple uniform. His face showed no fear. His posture was calm. He looked around the room and spoke clearly. Humans deserve an explanation. The Grand Speaker of the Council, an ancient being named Zorth, rose slowly from his throne. Zorth was tall, thin, and covered in silver scales. His eyes glowed with ancient intelligence. Human, Zorth said, his voice deep and cold. Your species has been judged unfit for galactic membership. Elias did not move. Unfit? He repeated. After everything we've done? Zorth's eyes narrowed. You are unacceptable. A dangerous word. Elias folded his arms. Then say it, he said calmly. Why? The chamber went silent. Some council members shifted in their seats. Others avoided looking at the human. Finally, Zorth spoke one word that shocked everyone. Disgusting. The word echoed through the chamber. Elias blinked. Disgusting, he repeated. Yes, Zorth said. Humans are disgusting. A wave of shock moved through the room. Elias took a slow breath. That is not an answer, he said. That is an insult. Zorth leaned forward. It is both. The hidden fear. The council activated a large holographic screen above the table. Images appeared. Human soldiers in battle. Human medics working under fire. Human pilots crashing ships to save others. Human civilians standing in disasters, helping each other. Elias recognized many of the images. These are humans saving your worlds. Elias said, These are our people helping your people. Zorth nodded slowly. Yes, that is exactly why you are dangerous. Elias frowned. Dangerous for helping? Zorth did not answer directly. Instead, he changed the image. Now the screen showed human injuries. Broken bones, burned skin, blood-covered bodies. People bleeding, but still moving. People wounded, but still fighting. People who should have collapsed, but did not. Zorth spoke again. This is the truth that frightens us. Elias stared at the images. That's survival, he said. That's courage. No, Zorth replied. That is something else. A broken system. Zorth waved a hand, and the hologram zoomed inside a human body. It showed muscles, organs, nerves, and blood. This is your pain system, Zorth said. It is supposed to stop you. Elias raised an eyebrow. Stop us from what? From destroying yourselves, Zorth said. The screen showed a human with a broken leg, still walking. A human with deep wounds, still standing. A human burned by fire, still pulling others to safety. Pain exists to protect life, Zorth continued. It tells the body to stop. But humans do not listen. The chamber grew quiet. You feel pain, Zorth said, but you do not obey it. Elias crossed his arms. So you ban us because we're strong? Zorth shook his head. No, we banned you because you are wrong. The word that changed everything. Zorth's eyes glowed brighter. You do not respect pain, he said. You ignore it. You fight through it. And worse, you seek it. The room fell silent. Elias stared at him. What do you mean? Elias asked. Zord showed more images. Humans running long distances until they collapsed. Humans lifting heavy weights, muscles tearing, faces in pain, and smiling. Humans training in freezing cold or extreme heat. Humans choosing suffering. You call this training. Zora said. We call this madness. You damage your bodies and call improvement. You push yourselves into pain and call it growth. The council members whispered among themselves. This behavior is unnatural, Zora said. It is disturbing. Elias spoke calmly. We don't enjoy pain, he said. We enjoy overcoming it. Zora stared at him. That difference, Zora said slowly, is exactly what makes you dangerous. A turning point. The chamber was quiet. Elias could feel the tension. You banned us, Elias said, because we don't give up. Zora nodded. Yes. Elias took a slow breath. So you're afraid. Zora did not deny it. We are afraid of what you can survive, Zora said. We are afraid of what you become under pressure. Elias leaned forward. And what do we become? Zoratha's voice dropped. You become unstoppable. The unexpected truth. Zorath activated another hologram. This time, it showed a star system. One star was collapsing. Planets were breaking apart. Alien ships were fleeing. And one human fleet was flying toward the destruction. Elias recognized the event. That was a Carthos collapse. Elias said, we evacuated millions. Yes, Zora said, at the cost of your own ships. The hologram zoomed in. Human ships flying directly into fire. Human crews staying behind to save others. Human soldiers choosing death so others could live. Zora spoke softly. You choose suffering for others. Elias nodded. That's who we are. Zora looked disturbed. That is not noble, he said. That is abnormal. The real reason. Zora turned to the council. Most species value survival above all else, he said. But humans value something else. The hologram showed humans standing together in disasters, helping strangers, protecting the weak, refusing to abandon others. They value meaning. Zora said they value sacrifice. The council members looked uneasy. This makes them unpredictable. Zora continued. You cannot control a species that does not fear pain. You cannot threaten a species that accepts suffering. You cannot stop a species that is willing to die for a reason. The chamber felt cold. Elias looked around. So instead of working with us, Elias said, you banned us. Zorath nodded. Yes, because you cannot control us, Elias said. Zorath remained silent. The unexpected turning point. Elias straightened his back. You made a mistake, he said. Zorath looked at him. What mistake? You banned the one species willing to bleed, so others don't have to. The chamber fell silent. Zorath's eyes narrowed. That is exactly why you were banned. Elias frowned. That makes no sense. Zorath stood tall. We fear what you represent, he said. Pain without surrender. Loss without defeat. Death without meaninglessness. Elias spoke softly. You fear hope. The council members looked shocked. Zorath did not respond. The warning. Elias took a step forward. You think humans are dangerous, he said. But the galaxy has faced dangers far worse. Zorath's eyes sharpened. What are you talking about? Elias spoke slowly. There are things in the universe that no one else can face. Zorath remained silent. Things that break minds. Elias continued. Things that destroy worlds. Things that feed on fear. The chamber grew tense. And when those things come, Elias said, you will wish humans were not banned. Zorath looked uneasy. We do not need humans, Zorath said. Elias met his gaze. You will? The first crack. One of the council members, a glowing energy being, spoke for the first time. Grand Speaker, what if the human is right? Zorath turned sharply. What do you mean? The energy being said, we have lost many fleets recently. Zorath's eyes darkened. That is unrelated. Another council member, a mechanical mind, spoke. Our sensors have detected unknown movements beyond the outer systems. Zortha's claws tightened. Enough, he said. Elias watched them carefully. He could see something they were not saying. Fear. The unspoken threat. Elias looked at Zorth. You already know, he said. Zorth did not answer. You've seen the signs. Elias continued. The silence in deep space. The missing fleets. The stars going dark. Zortha's eyes glowed brighter. You know something is coming, Elias said, and you ban the one species that does not stop when it should. The chamber was completely silent. The final words of part 1. Zorth finally spoke. This meeting is over. Guard began to move. Elias did not resist. As he was escorted away, he turned back. When it comes, Elias said, don't call us disgusting. Call us necessary. The doors closed behind him. The chamber was left in silence. Zorth slowly sat back down. For the first time in thousands of years, the Grand Speaker of the Galactic Council felt fear, not of humans, but of what was coming. The stars were going dark, not all at once, not in a single place, but slowly, quietly, system by system. At first, no one noticed. A trade ship failed to arrive. A colony stopped sending messages. A research station went silent. The Galactic Council called these technical problems, but deep inside their data, a pattern was forming, and it was terrifying. The first lost world. On the outer edge of the galaxy, there was a small mining world called Tyrax 9. It had 1 moon, 2 spaceports, and a population of less than 3 million. One day, all communication stopped. No distress signal, no explosion, no debris, just silence. A council fleet was sent to investigate. When they arrived, the planet was still there. The cities were still standing. The lights were still on. But every living being was gone. Not dead, not injured, just missing. No bodies, no blood, no damage. It was as if life itself had been erased. The council fleet reported back. Tyrax 9 is empty. The council dismissed it as an unknown evacuation. But then it happened again, and again, and again. The pattern no one wanted to see. 5 worlds vanished. Then 10. Then 20. Each time, the same result. No life, no bodies, no signs of battle, no signs of escape. The council held emergency meetings, but they did not invite humans. They believed humans were too dangerous, too unstable, too disgusting. So they tried to solve the problem alone, and failed. The prison of Earth. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans felt the ban like a cage. No human ship could leave council-controlled space. No human fleet could assist other species. No human ambassador could speak. Captain Elias Ward sat in a small office inside Earth's orbital defense station. He stared at the stars through a glass wall. He knew something was wrong. Deep space was too quiet. His terminal blinked with restricted messages. Reports of missing worlds. Classified data. Signals cut mid-sentence. Elias leaned forward. They're hiding something, he said quietly. His assistant, Commander Rhea Collins, stood beside him. They won't answer our requests, she said. They treat us like a threat. Elias looked tired. We are a threat, he said. Just not the kind they think. The Council's failure. On Zyron Prime, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Another system had gone silent. This time, it was a major trade hub. Millions of lives. Gone. Zora stood in the center of the chamber, his scales dull, his posture tense. We are losing control, said one council member. We don't know what we are fighting, said another. A mechanical mind spoke in a cold voice. Our fleets are disappearing. Not destroyed. Disappearing. An energy being flickered nervously. This enemy does not leave traces. Zorth clenched his claws. Then we will find it, he said. But his voice lacked confidence. The ship that never returned. The council sent their most advanced ship, the Star Beacon, to investigate the last vanished system. The ship was equipped with advanced sensors, quantum scanners, reality-stabilizing fields, It was designed to survive anything. The crew was the best in the galaxy. They entered the system. They scanned the empty planets. They detected nothing. Then, without warning, the ship stopped transmitting. No explosion. No distress call. Just silence. The star beacon vanished. The Council was no longer in denial. They were in danger. A name in the dark. Zor stood alone in his private chamber, staring at ancient star charts. He opened forbidden records. Data from a time before the Council. From an age when the galaxy was young. And afraid, there was a name in those records. A name that had been erased. A name that no one spoke anymore. The Null Presence. It was not a species. Not a machine. Not a natural force. It was something else. Something that did not destroy. It removed life, energy, memory, existence. It did not kill. It erased. Zorth whispered name and felt fear. The truth he tried to forget. Long ago, before the Council existed, many species had faced the Null Presence. They had sent fleets. They had sent weapons. They had sent entire civilizations into battle. Nothing worked. The Null Presence did not fight. It did not resist. It did not respond. It simply advanced. And everything it touched disappeared. The record said only one species had ever survived direct contact. One to humans. But at that time, humans were primitive, young, unimportant. The galaxy had dismissed the reports as myths. Zorth had dismissed them too. Until now, the forbidden file. Zorth activated a hidden terminal. He accessed a classified file. Human contact report, null event. The file opened. It showed a human ship, centuries ago, encountering the Null Presence. The ship should have vanished. Instead, it returned, damaged, broken, but alive. The crew was injured, burned, some missing limbs, some barely breathing. But they were alive, and the Null Presence had retreated. Zor stared at the screen. "That's impossible," he whispered. The real difference. The report explained something strange. The Null Presence did not react to weapons. It did not react to energy. It did not react to shields. But it reacted to resistance. Not physical resistance. Mental, emotional, something inside humans. The report said, the Null Presence weakens when faced with sustained under extreme suffering. Zortha's eyes widened. Humans did not defeat it. They endured it. They did not stop it. They slowed it. They forced it to retreat by refusing to break. Zorth remembered Elias' words. You ban the one species willing to bleed, so others don't have to. Zorth felt a chill. The Council's denial. Zorth returned to the Council chamber. He shared part of the data, but not all. Some Council members laughed. Ancient myths, one said. Unreliable data, said another. Humans are unstable, said a third. They cannot be trusted. Zorth said nothing. But deep inside, doubt was growing. Another world went silent during the meeting. Then another. The galaxy was losing space faster than it could respond. And the Council had no answer. The human signal. On Earth, Elias received a strange transmission. It came from deep space. Not from any known system. Not from any known species. The message was short, broken, weak, but clear. We remember you. Elias froze. His assistant looked at him. What does that mean? She asked. Elias stood slowly. That means, he said, it's back. The memory no one else had. Elias accessed ancient human archives. Stories from early space explorers. Logs from lost missions. Legend from the first days of deep space travel. One name appeared again and again. The silence. Not a place. Not a thing. But an experience. Human crews had described it as a pressure in the mind, a weight on the soul, a voice without sound, a hunger without form. Most species went insane. Humans suffered, but they endured. They lost people. They lost ships. They lost parts of themselves. But they returned, and they remembered. The hidden advantage. Elias realized something. The Council feared humans because they ignored pain, because they endured suffering, because they pushed themselves. But that was exactly why they survived the silence. Humans did not break when they should. They did not stop when they should. They did not surrender when they should. And the silence did not know how to handle that. The Council's first defeat. Another major fleet vanished. This time, it was near the Council's core worlds. The panic spread. Trade collapsed. Communication networks failed. Entire regions went dark. Zorth stood before the Council. His voice was heavy. "We are losing." No one argued. "We cannot fight this," Zorth said. "We cannot even see it." The chamber was filled with fear. Then Zorth said something that shocked everyone. "We must contact the humans." The room exploded with protests. "They are banned. They are unstable. They are dangerous." Zorth raised his hand. "They are necessary," he said. The room fell silent. The message no one wanted to send. Zorth prepared a private transmission. Not public, not official, just a simple message. It was sent directly to Earth. To one man, Captain Elias Ward. The message was short, cold, and full of hesitation. "We need you." The human response. Elias received the message. He stared at it for a long time. His assistant asked, "What are you going to do?" Elias looked up. "They banned us," he said. "They called us disgusting." "So?" she asked. Elias smiled slightly. "So we help anyway." The unexpected choice. Elias contacted Earth's leaders. He shared what he knew. He shared what was coming. He shared what humans had faced before. There was silence. Then one leader spoke. "We were banned." Another said, "They insulted us." Another said, "They fear us." Elias nodded. "Yes, but the galaxy is not the Council." He stood tall. "And people are dying." Earth's leaders looked at each other. Then one said, "Prepare the fleet." The human fleet moves. For the first time since the ban, human ships powered up. Warships, medical ships, rescue ships, science ships. Not to attack, not to invade, but to move toward the darkness. No Council permission. No Council approval. Just human choice. The cliffhanger, Part 2 ending. As the human fleet prepared to jump into deep space, Elias stood on the bridge of his ship. He looked at the stars. "We are going into something no one understands," he said. His crew nodded. "We may not come back," he continued. Still no one moved. Elias gave the final order. "Jump." The stars stretched. The fleet vanished into the dark. Far away, something noticed. Something ancient. Something hungry. And for the first time in a long time, the silence felt resistance. The human fleet moved into the unknown. No maps. No warnings. No return signal. Just stars stretching into long lines as ships jumped through space. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Resolve. The bridge was quiet. Too quiet. No one joked. No one spoke loudly. No one smiled. Every crew member knew this mission was different. They were not going to fight an enemy. They were going to face something that erased enemies. The first sign. The fleet exited jump space near the edge of the lost systems. At first, everything looked normal. Stars burned brightly. Planets orbited calmly. Space was silent. Then a navigator spoke. "Captain, our sensors are acting strange." Elias turned. "What kind of strange?" "Long-range scans show nothing," the navigator said. "That's normal," Elias replied. "No, sir," the navigator said. "Not empty. Gone." Elias frowned. "What do you mean gone?" "There's a region ahead," the navigator said, "where even background radiation is missing." The bridge went silent. Space was never truly empty. There was always noise, always energy, always something. But this region had nothing. It was like a hole in reality. The black scar. The fleet moved closer. The dark region grew larger. It did not look black. It looked missing, like a piece of space had been cut out. Stars near the edge bent slightly. Light curved around it. Elias felt a strange pressure behind his eyes. "Helm," he said. "Slow approach." "Yes, sir." The fleet slowed. No alarm sounded. No weapons fired. But something felt wrong. Very wrong. The first loss. A scout ship moved ahead of the fleet. Its name was Hope's Edge. The ship was fast. small, well-equipped. It crossed the edge of the dark region. For 1 second, its signal was clear, then gone. Not destroyed, not damaged, just erased. No explosion, no debris, no energy spike. The ship simply vanished. The bridge crew stared at the empty space. No one spoke. Elias whispered, "That's it. That's what they faced." The weight in the mind. As the fleet moved closer, the crew began to feel it. Not physically, mentally. A heavy pressure, like a deep sadness, like a strong fear without a cause. One officer rubbed his head. "Captain, I feel like something is watching me." Another said, "I feel tired, but not in my body, in my thoughts." Another whispered, "I feel small." Elias felt it too, a quiet voice in his mind. Not words, just wait. He closed his eyes. "This is the silence," he said. The living darkness. The dark region shifted. It did not move like a ship. It did not move like a storm. It moved like a shadow. Slow, smooth, silent. It was not attacking. It was approaching. The fleet commander spoke. "Captain, it's changing shape." The dark region stretched. It wrapped around nearby space. It began to surround the fleet. Not aggressively. Not quickly. Just patiently, like a predator waiting. The first human contact. Elias ordered, "Open all external channels." His communications officer looked confused. "To who, sir?" "To it." Elias said. The officer hesitated, then complied. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the human fleet." Elias said, "We know you are there." Silence. "We know you remember us." Elias continued. Still silence. "We did not come to fight." Elias said, "We come to endure." The bridge crew looked uneasy. There was no response, but the pressure in their minds grew heavier. The pain begins. Without warning, alarm sounded. Not external, internal. Crew members began to gasp, not from lack of air, not from physical injury, but from pain, mental pain. One officer fell to her knees. "I feel like my thoughts are burning," she cried. Another held his head. "It's pulling memories," he shouted. Elias gripped his chair. He felt it too. Memories flashing. Loss, fear, regret, pain from his past. All rising at once. "This is how it attacks." Elias said, "Not the body, the mind." The breaking point. Several crew members collapsed. Not unconscious, but frozen. Their eyes wide. Their bodies still. But their minds gone. The medical team rushed in. "They're alive," a medic said, "but they're empty. Empty, just like the lost worlds, just like the erased ships." Elias felt anger rising. "You take minds," he said quietly. "You take lives." The pressure grew stronger. One crew member screamed. "I can't do this," he shouted. "It's too much." Another said, "It's telling me to stop." Another whispered, "It wants me to sleep." Elias stood. "Don't listen," he said loudly. "It lies." The human advantage. Elias turned to his crew. "This pain," he said, "this pressure, it wants us to give up. But humans don't stop when it hurts. We don't stop when it's hard. We don't stop when it's unfair." The crew listened. "We keep going," Elias said, "not because we're fearless, but because we choose to." He took a step forward. "You're not alone. You're human, and that means you endure." The first pushback. Elias ordered all ships activate neural shields. The fleet activated experimental systems. Not weapons, not shields, mental stabilizers. They did not block the pain. They spread it, shared it. No one carried it alone. The pressure did not stop, but it changed. It became manageable. Crew members still felt pain, but they could think, they could breathe, they could move. The silence hesitated, not physically, mentally, like something had surprised it. The unexpected reaction. The dark region shifted again. It pulled back slightly, not much, but enough to notice. Elias felt it. "It's reacting," he said. "How?" asked his officer. "It doesn't understand this," Elias said. "It doesn't understand shared pain. It doesn't understand endurance." The second wave, the silence pushed harder, stronger. Crew members cried out. Memories intensified. Fear deepened. Pain sharpened. One officer screamed and fell unconscious. Another dropped to his knees, shaking. The bridge shook, not physically, but mentally. It felt like standing inside a storm made of thoughts. Elias felt himself weakening. His vision blurred. His chest felt heavy. He whispered, "Stay awake." The human response. Elias activated the ship-wide channel. "All hands," he said. "This is your captain. This is the hardest moment you will ever face. You will feel pain. You will feel fear. You will feel like giving up. But you will not. Not because you can't, but because someone else needs you. Someone always needs you." Silence filled the ship. Then one voice answered, "I'm still here." Another said, "I'm still fighting." Another said, "I won't quit." Another said, "I choose to endure." The ship's channel filled with voices. Human voices. Not loud. Not angry. Just steady. The silence feels fear. The dark region trembled. Not physically. Mentally. It felt like confusion. Like something encountering resistance it did not expect. The pressure weakened slightly. The mental attack slowed. Elias felt it. "It's slowing," he said. "It doesn't know what to do with us." The first human loss. Despite everything, not everyone survived. 3 crew members were lost. Not dead, not injured, just empty. Their minds were gone. Their bodies remained. Medical teams could not reach them. They were alive, but no longer present. Elias closed his eyes. "We will not forget you," he whispered. The message that changed everything. Suddenly, a signal appeared. Not from a ship, not from a planet, from the silence itself. A strange, broken transmission. Not in words, not in language, but in feeling. It carried confusion, pain, curiosity, and fear. Elias felt it. "It's trying to understand us," he said. "It doesn't understand why we don't break." The turning moment. Elias stepped forward. "This is not a battle," he said. "This is a test." He opened the external channel again. "We are human," he said. "We suffer. We hurt. We lose. But we continue. We do not surrender pain. We do not surrender to loss. We do not surrender to you." Silence. Then something changed. The dark region pulled back further, not retreating fully, but no longer advancing. The pressure lessened. The mental storm weakened. Crew members slowly regained control. Breathing steadied. Voices returned. The silence had stopped attacking. The unexpected truth. Elias felt something new. Not fear. Not pain. Something else. Recognition. The silence was not just a force. It was wounded. It had been alone. For a very long time. It erased others not out of hate, but because it did not know how to connect. It removed what it could not understand. And humans were something it could not erase. Because humans did not disappear when broken. They stayed. They endured. They remembered. The cliffhanger, Part 3 ending. The dark region remained still, not attacking, not leaving, just watching. Elias looked at the stars. "We made first contact," he said quietly. "But this is not over." The silence had stopped, but it had not left, and the galaxy was still in danger. Somewhere deep within the living darkness, something ancient was learning what it meant to suffer, learning what it meant to endure, learning what it meant to face humanity. The silence did not attack. It did not retreat. It stayed, hovering, watching. The human fleet remained still, floating at the edge of the dark region. No weapons fired. No ships moved. Only minds worked. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Resolve, feeling the strange calm after the storm. The pressure in his head was still there, but it was lighter, like a distant echo instead of a scream. He could feel the silence, thinking, not like a human, not like a machine, but like something old, something tired. The broken minds. In the medical bay, 3 crew members lay still. Their bodies were alive. Their hearts were beating. Their lungs were breathing. But their minds were gone. Doctors could not wake them. They could not feel pain. They could not respond. They were empty. Commander Rhea Collins stood beside Elias. "Can we save them?" she asked. Elias looked at the still bodies. "I don't know," he said, "but we won't stop trying." The quiet voice. Elias returned to the bridge. He felt something in his mind. Not pressure, not pain, presence. Not inside him, near him, like a shadow that didn't block light. He closed his eyes. "I know you're listening," he said softly. No response, but he felt something change. Like attention, like focus, the first memory. Without warning, Elias saw something. Not with his eyes, with his mind. A memory, not his own. A dark, empty space. No stars, no light, no sound, just endless cold silence. Then movement, a small spark of life. A young civilization. Simple beings. Building, growing, reaching. Then the spark disappeared. Not destroyed. Not burned. Just erased. The memory shifted. Another civilization. Then another. Then another. All gone. Elias gasped. "This is your past," he whispered. The ancient loneliness. More memories came. The silence had not been born evil. It had not been created as a weapon. It had awakened in an empty universe. Alone, without form, without body, without mind as humans understood it. It discovered life, but it did not understand life. It tried to touch it, and when it touched it, life vanished. Not because the silence wanted to destroy, but because it could not exist with others. It erased what it could not share space with. Elias felt something heavy. "You didn't mean to," he whispered. The silence responded, not in words, but in feeling, regret, confusion, pain, loneliness, the real reason. Elias understood. The silence was not a monster. It was a mistake, a being that erased because it did not know how to exist, a presence that removed because it could not connect. But why did humans survive? Why did it retreat from them? The answer came in another memory. The first human encounter. Centuries ago, a human exploration ship had entered the silence. The crew felt pain, fear, mental pressure. Many lost consciousness. Some lost their minds. But some stayed awake. Some stayed aware. Some refused to surrender. They did not try to fight. They did not try to escape. They endured. They spoke to each other. They shared their pain. They remembered who they were. They did not vanish. The silence tried to erase them, but it could not, because humans did not break. They bent. They suffered, but they remained, and that confused the silence. For the first time, it met something that did not disappear, something that stayed, something that endured, something that existed with it. The difference: other species collapsed when faced with the silence. Their minds shut down, their thoughts scattered, their sense of self disappeared, and the silence erased what was already fading. But humans held on to themselves, even in pain, even in fear, even in loss. They remembered, they endured, and because they endured, the silence could not erase them. Not fully, not completely, not easily. The Council's hidden crime. Elias suddenly realized something else. The Council had known this. Long ago, they had seen the records. They had seen that humans survived. They had seen that humans were different. They had seen that humans were the only species that could endure the silence. And instead of protecting humans, they feared them. They labeled them unstable. They called them dangerous. They banned them. Not because humans were disgusting, but because humans were necessary. And necessity made the Council feel weak. The truth revealed. Elias opened a secure channel. "Zorith," he said, "I know the truth." No response. "You banned us because you were afraid." Elias continued. "Not of us, but of what we could survive. You knew we were the only ones who could stand against the silence. You didn't want to depend on us. You didn't want to admit your weakness." Silence. Then Zorith responded. "You are wrong," Zorith said. Elias smiled sadly. "No," he said. "You are." The Council's fear. Zorith sat alone in his chamber. He listened to Elias' words. He wanted to deny them, but he couldn't. He remembered the old records. He remembered the human ships returning. He remembered the survivors. He remembered the pain. He remembered the fear. Humans were not disgusting. They were terrifying, not because they destroyed, but because they endured. And endurance was something the Council could not control. The silence speaks. For the first time, the silence communicated clearly, not in sound, not in language, but in shared thought. Every human in the fleet felt it. A single message. Why do you stay? Elias whispered, because we care. The silence responded. Care hurts. Yes, Elias said, it does. But we stay anyway. The silence asked, why do you not leave? Because others need us, Elias said. Why do you not disappear? Elias took a deep breath. Because we choose to exist. The turning point. The silence felt something new. Not pain, not fear. Something unfamiliar. Connection. It had never experienced connection. Everything it touched disappeared. But humans stayed. They felt pain and stayed. They felt fear and stayed. They felt loss and stayed. They did not vanish. They did not erase themselves. They did not surrender. And because of that, the silence began to change. The first gift. Without warning, one of the empty crew members stirred. Doctors rushed. He's moving, a medic shouted. The crew member's eyes blinked. Slowly. Confused. But alive. Present. Not empty. Another stirred. Then another. The silence was returning what it had taken. Not fully. Not perfectly. But enough. Elias felt tears in his eyes. Thank you, he whispered. The silence responded with a feeling. Not joy. Not sadness. Relief. The Council's shock. Zorth received reports. Human ships were not being erased. Human minds were not collapsing. Human crews were surviving. Even more shocking, some lost minds were returning. Zorth felt something he had not felt in centuries. Hope and shame. The truth no one expected. The silence did not want to destroy the galaxy. It did not want to erase life. It did not want to be alone. It simply did not know how to exist with others. And humans were teaching it, not with force, not with weapons, but with endurance, with connection, with shared pain, with shared presence. Humans were not fighting the silence. They were teaching it how to stay. The cliffhanger, Part 4 ending. The dark region began to change shape, not shrinking, not growing, but stabilizing, becoming defined. No longer a missing space, but a presence, something that could exist, something that could stay, something that could learn. Elias looked at the stars. This isn't the end, he said. This is the beginning. But far away on the Council worlds, a decision was being made. One that would test whether the galaxy was ready to accept humanity or lose everything. The galaxy was changing, not slowly, not quietly, but all at once. For the first time in history, the silence was not spreading. It was holding still. Worlds were no longer disappearing. Fleets were no longer vanishing. Space itself felt calmer. But the Galactic Council did not celebrate. They were afraid, because something they did not control was working, and it was human. The Council's dilemma. Zorth stood before the full Council. His voice echoed through the chamber. The silence has stopped advancing, he said. Murmurs spread across the room. One council member said, then our fleets have succeeded. Another said, we weakened it. Zorth shook his head. No, he said, the humans did. The room fell silent. They did not attack it, Zorth continued. They did not destroy it. They endured it. They connected with it. They changed it. The council members exchanged uneasy looks. That is dangerous, one said. How? Asked Zorth. It means humans now have influence over the silence, another said. Zorth remained calm. They already did, he said. We just refuse to admit it. Fear dependence. A mechanical council member spoke. If humans are the only ones who can survive the silence, then the galaxy depends on them. Zorth nodded. Yes, that is unacceptable, said another. We cannot place the fate of the galaxy in human hands. Zorth replied, it already is. Silence followed. Then a reptilian council leader said, "Then, we must remove the humans from the situation." Zortha's eyes widened. "You mean eliminate them?" "Not directly," the reptilian said. "We can use a weapon, a device, something that neutralizes the silence completely." Zorth felt cold. "You want to destroy it?" "Yes," the council member said. "End the threat forever." Zorth looked troubled. "That will also destroy everything within it," he said, "and possibly destabilize space around it." "Acceptable losses," the reptilian replied. Zorth whispered, "including the human fleet." No one denied it. The secret weapon. The council possessed a device older than most civilizations. It was called the Null Hammer. It was not a bomb. It was not a weapon. It was a reality breaker. It could collapse entire regions of space into nothing. It had been banned, locked away, never used. Until now, the council voted. Not all agreed, but enough did. The decision was made. They would activate the Null Hammer. They would destroy the silence. And everyone inside it, including the humans, the human discovery. On the bridge of the resolve, Elias felt something change. The silence became uneasy, not angry, not violent, uneasy, like something sensed danger. Elias felt a sharp pressure in his mind. Not pain, warning. Rhea turned to him. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy buildup far away." "Where?" Elias asked. "Council space." Elias's heart sank. "They're planning something," he said. "They're going to try to destroy it." The silence's fear. For the first time, the silence felt fear. Not of humans. Of something else. Something destructive. Something final. It reached out, not with pain, not with pressure, with urgency. "They will end me," Elias whispered. "Yes, they will. And you." "Yes," Elias said. "Why?" "Because they're afraid," Elias replied. "Of you, of losing control." The silence felt confusion. "I do not control." "No," Elias said. "You don't. That's the problem." The choice. Elias opened a channel to Earth. "They're going to use a weapon," he said. "A weapon that will erase the silence. And us." Earth's leaders went silent. One finally spoke. "What do you want to do?" Elias did not hesitate. "We stop them." "How?" someone asked. Elias looked at the dark region. "We don't fight them. We endure them." The plan no one expected. Elias shared a risky plan. They would not attack the council. They would not destroy the weapon. They would move the silence. Not physically. Mentally. They would convince it. To move. To shift. To leave the danger zone. To exist elsewhere. Where the weapon could not reach. Where life was not. Where it could be safe. Where it could learn. It was impossible. And yet, it was the only option. The human request. Elias opened the channel to the silence. "They are going to destroy this space," he said. "You need to move." "Move? Where?" the silence asked. "To a place without life," Elias said. "A place where you can exist. A place where you won't erase others." "I do not know how to move." "Yes," Elias said, "but we do." The human gift. Humans shared something with the silence. Not technology. Not energy. Memory. Emotion. Imagination. They showed it stars beyond. Empty regions. Dead space. Places without life. Places without civilizations. Places without pain. They showed it choice. "You offer me choice." "Yes," Elias said. "We do." The council activates the weapon. On Zyron Prime, alarms rang. The Null Hammer was activated. Energy surged. Reality trembled. Space around the silence began to shake. The weapon's charge time was short. Too short. Zora stood frozen. "What have we done?" he whispered. The silence struggles. The silence felt the weapon. It felt space tearing. It felt itself being pulled apart. It panicked, not in rage, in fear. It reached for Elias. "It hurts." Elias clenched his fists. "I know," he said, "but you can move." "I do not know how." "Yes, you do," Elias said. "Think of where you want to be. Think of where you won't be alone. Think of where you won't hurt others." the human sacrifice. The human fleet moved closer to the silence, closer than any ship ever had, inside the dark region, inside the pressure, inside the mental storm. Crew members screamed, not in pain, in effort, in focus. They were pushing, not physically, mentally, emotionally, with every memory, every loss, every hope, every fear. They shared it all, not just with each other, but with the silence, the push. The silence began to change, not shrinking, not expanding, shifting, slowly, with effort, like a mountain trying to move. The weapon's energy grew stronger. The time was running out. One ship lost power. Then another. Crew members collapsed. Some did not get back up. Elias felt his strength fading. "Stay with me," he whispered to the silence. "I am trying." The final moment. The null hammer reached critical charge. Zora shouted, "Abort!" But it was too late. The energy wave began to release. The silence made one final push. It moved. Not far, not fast, but enough, just enough. The weapon fired. Reality collapsed where the silence had been. Space folded. Light vanished. Nothing remained, except the human fleet, and a faint presence far away. The silence survived. The silence was gone, not destroyed, not erased, moved to a region of empty space, far from life, far from civilizations, far from harm. It was weak, it was tired, but it existed, it survived, because humans helped it move. The human cost. 3 human ships were lost, not destroyed, not exploded, just gone. Crew members were lost. Lives were lost, not in battle, but in endurance. Elias stood in silence. "We did what we had to," he said, "and we paid the price." The council's shame. Zorth watched the aftermath. The silence was gone. The galaxy was safe, but not because of the council, because of humans. Zorth felt shame, not fear, not anger. Shame. He realized the truth. Humans were not disgusting. They were dangerous, not because they destroyed, but because they endured. And endurance was something no one could control. The cliffhanger, Part 5 ending. The galaxy was safe, for now, but the council had made an enemy, not the silence, but humanity. And humanity had learned something, that the galaxy feared them, that the galaxy would sacrifice them, that the galaxy did not trust them. And that would change everything. The galaxy was quiet, not the peaceful kind of quiet, the heavy kind, the kind that follows a storm. Worlds were safe. Stars burned again. Trade routes reopened. But something had changed. Something deep. Something permanent. The cost of survival. Human ships drifted through space. Damaged. Silent. Scarred. 3 ships were gone. Hundreds of humans were lost. Not in battle. Not in war. But in endurance. They had not fired a single weapon. They had not destroyed a single enemy. They had saved the galaxy and been betrayed. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Resolve, staring at the stars. His face was calm, but his eyes carried pain. Commander Rhea Collins stood beside him. "They used us," she said quietly. "Yes," Elias replied. "They did. They tried to kill us," she said. "Yes," Elias replied. "Will we forgive them?" she asked. Elias did not answer. Not yet. The council's silence. On Xiron Prime, the Galactic Council did not celebrate. They did not announce victory. They did not hold ceremonies. They did not thank anyone. They sat in silence, because they knew the truth. They had not saved the galaxy. Humans had, and they had tried to erase them. Zora stood alone in the council chamber. The seats were empty. The lights were dim. The silence was heavy. He replayed the events again and again in his mind. The activation of the null hammer, the human fleet inside the silence, the near destruction, the human sacrifice, the human endurance, and the human survival. Zora felt something. The return of the silence. Far away, beyond the edge of map space, the silence rested, not expanding, not attacking, not erasing. It was weak. It was wounded. but it existed. For the first time in its long existence, it was not alone. It remembered humans, not as enemies, not as prey, but as something else. Something new, something stable. It did not understand connection, but it felt something like it. And it was learning, slowly, the council's decision. The council was called back into session. Every leader attended. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Zora stood. "We must speak the truth," he said. The room remained silent. "We tried to destroy the silence," he continued, "and we almost destroyed the humans." Still silence. "We failed," Zora said, "not because the plan was wrong, but because our thinking was." Murmurs spread. Zorath raised his voice. "We feared humans because they endure. We feared them because they do not break. We feared them because they accept pain and continue. And instead of respecting that, we try to remove them." Silence again. Zorath looked around the room. "We were wrong." The offer. Zorath activated a public transmission. Not secret, not private. Public, galaxy-wide. His face appeared on every screen. "Citizens of the galaxy," Zorath said, "we owe the humans a truth." A wave of attention moved across space. Zorath continued, "We banned them because we feared them. We feared their endurance. We feared their willingness to suffer. We feared their refusal to surrender. We feared what we could not control." He paused. "And we used them." He took a deep breath. "And then we tried to destroy them." Gasps echoed across countless worlds. Zorath continued, "The humans saved the galaxy. They endured what no one else could. They faced the silence and taught it how to stop. They sacrificed lives so others could live. And we repaid them with betrayal." Zorath bowed his head. "We are ashamed." The galaxy was silent. The human response. On Earth, humans watched the broadcast. Cities stopped. Ships paused. Schools went quiet. People stared at their screens. Some were angry. Some were hurt. Some were confused. Some were proud. Earth's leaders contacted Elias. "They're apologizing," one said. Elias nodded. "Yes," he said. "What do you want to do?" Another asked. Elias looked out at the stars. "We listen," he said. The invitation. Zorath's message continued. "We invite humanity back to the Galactic Council, not as a member, but as an equal." The chamber behind him shifted. A new seat appeared, not at the edge, not below, but in the center, next to Zorath's throne. "We offer humans a permanent seat," Zorath said, "not because they are strong, not because they are advanced, but because they endured when no one else could. And the galaxy exists because of that." The human debate. Earth held a global council. Every nation, every leader, every voice. The debate was long. Some said, "We should refuse." Some said, "We should leave the galaxy to solve its own problems." Some said, "We should forgive." Some said, "We should never forget." Elias spoke. "We should remember," he said, "but we should not abandon." "They feared us," he continued. "They betrayed us. But the galaxy is not the council. There are billions of lives who did nothing wrong. They deserve protection. And we are the ones who can provide it." Silence followed. Then one leader spoke. "So what do you suggest?" Elias answered, "We return, but not as they expect. The human condition. Humans accepted the invitation, but with conditions." Elias sent a message to Zorath. "We will return," he said, "but not to be controlled, not to be used, not to be sacrificed. We will act when we choose. We will protect who we choose. We will not obey blindly. We will not be silent. And we will not be erased." Zorath read the message and nodded. "Agreed," he said. The return to the council. The day arrived. Human ships entered council space for the first time since the ban. No weapons powered. No shields raised. Just quiet movement. The council chamber was full. Every species watched. Every mind waited. Captain Elias Ward entered the chamber. He walked calmly, his posture steady, his eyes clear. He did not bow. He did not kneel. He did not show anger. He simply stood. Zorth rose. "Welcome back, humanity," Zorth said. Elias replied, "We did not return because you invited us. We returned because the galaxy still needs us." Zorth nodded. "And we are grateful," he said. "The truth spoken." Elias turned to the council. "You banned us," he said. "You called us disgusting. You feared our pain. You feared our endurance. You feared our refusal to break. But those are not flaws," Elias said. "They are survival. They are sacrifice. They are responsibility. And without them, the galaxy would not exist." The chamber was silent. "You wanted control," Elias continued, "but endurance cannot be controlled. It can only be respected. The silence is choice." Far away, in empty space, the silence felt something. Not pain, not fear, not confusion. Choice. It remembered humans. It remembered endurance. It remembered connection. And for the first time, it chose not to move, not to expand, not to erase, but to stay, to exist, to learn, not alone, not lost, but present. The future begins. The council changed, not overnight, not perfectly, but slowly. Policies were rewritten, power was shared, fear was questioned, control was reduced, and humans became something new in the galaxy. Not rulers, not soldiers, not destroyers, but guardians. Not because they were the strongest, but because they endured the longest. The final words. Elias stood once more in the council chamber. He looked at the stars. "We are not heroes," he said. "We are not monsters. We are not gods. We are human, and humans endure." Zorth bowed his head. "The galaxy thanks you," he said. Elias replied softly. "The galaxy doesn't need thanks. It needs guardians. And we choose to be that." The end. The story of humanity spread across the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as destroyers, but as the species that endured, the ones who felt pain and stayed, the ones who faced fear and continued, the ones who were betrayed and returned, the ones who saved the galaxy without firing a weapon, the ones who taught the universe that endurance is not weakness. It is strength. It is hope. It is humanity that end apart,